Yeah, I mean, I think I fit into college better than most of my friends who went to other schools. I think there were probably three things that help with that. One is that the fact that it's a small liberal arts school, I think, made it easier. I think, if you go to a big university, you can kind of get lost and it gets difficult. But because it was a small liberal arts college, I think the kind of individualized attention you get to help you settle in is a lot. And I think that helps. Two, many people don't know this, but I think as a percentage of the student body, Claremont McKenna is one of the most international schools in the country. I think that every year obviously ranges, but I think it's between 15 to 20% of its student population is international. So I think that really helped me, like, having people that I could relate to and stuff. There are a lot of Indians, also a lot of people from Singapore, and just like, a lot of third culture kids like myself who've kind of, been all over the place. So that was really easy. And then finally, I think, that was the third thing was the fact that, there was a consortium. So if you ever felt too suffocated at CMC, you had like all the four other schools to also rely on, which was obviously helpful.
Sounds fascinating. How did you sort of find your way through academic choices that you had to make? Did you go decided, and then what happened?
Yeah, so unfortunately, my academic choices were limited because of the 3-2 program that I like went in knowing I wanted to do. What that program is that essentially you do 3 years at Claremont McKenna and you get a Bachelor of Arts in Economics, and then you do 2 years at Columbia and get a Bachelor of Arts in Engineering, a Bachelor of Science in Engineering. And because of the fact that you're getting a Bachelor of Science in Engineering only 2 years, you have to do a lot of prerequisites to engineering while at Claremont McKenna, along with the fact that you have to complete a whole economics degree at Claremont and then do all the liberal arts requirements. So I didn't really have much scope to like figure out what classes I, thought could have been cool. But that being said, the liberal arts part really allowed me to like, take different classes. Like I took a religious studies class, a philosophy class, which was cool. And then when it came to the 3-2 program itself, I always knew from high school I wanted to study both economics and engineering. And that's because like I did the IB, and my higher levels were math, physics, economics, and further math. And then I did SL Chem. So I think that lent in very well with this economics and engineering focus. So I actually ED to Penn for the MNT Jerome Fisher program because that is essentially the 3-2 program, but in 4 years. And then I didn't get in. So then I thought that this was the next best choice. But in hindsight, I think the 5 years definitely helped, and also getting the difference of like a small school versus a big school, as well as West Coast and East Coast, I thought added to my overall experience that I gained through college.
So that's pretty insightful, because very often students worry about 3+2, or even parents question about, what is this program? Why can't we just do 4 years of engineering or 4 years of economics? So that extra year perhaps makes you experience new things, also reflect a lot more about your choices, or even participate in many more pre-professional sort of activities. So while you were in CMC, what is it that you sort of pursued which were connected to activities that were connected to economics or finance in some sense?
Yeah, for sure. So I was involved in a bunch of things at CMC. So things that were directly related to economics and finance were the Student Investment Fund, which is a student-run hedge fund on campus. When I was there, we managed $2.4 million. I think now we manage 3. So I did that. Basically, the fund just is it's a long-only fund, and we buy U.S. equities. So that was cool. I was also part of the Claremont Consulting Group. That's an on-campus revenue-generating consulting firm. I actually was a lead consultant there. I got to lead a project with Apollo, like the private equity firm. Their Indian affiliate is called Econ. So that was again, great experience. So I think in terms of getting like professional experiences at Claremont, it was great. And then on top of that, I was heavily involved in MUN. I did a lot of debate, and then I was also on the lacrosse team.
Fascinating. And lacrosse was absolutely new, I'm assuming.
Yeah, no, I'd never played it before. So I picked it up in college. And then, yeah, the 3 years I was at Claremont, I was in the team. And yeah, it allowed me to try something new and be involved in a different way that I wasn't expecting.
Going back to academics, though, and we'll come back to the extracurriculars in a bit. Economics at Claremont is the most popular major. There's gov and political science, in some sense, also very popular. What are the different tracks students choose, and what was your track in economics?
Yeah, so I think, so economics is for sure the most popular major. And I think within that, there are probably two tracks. Nothing's defined, but like one track is like the one I did, which is where, oh, I guess there are three tracks. Sorry. So one track is the one I did where you kind of focus on finance, and that's like the kind of economics you do, which is what I did. Another very popular track is where you do economics, but with a focus in accounting. Um, so that's a track, a bunch of students who want to like enter either, auditing firms or accounting firms, like the big four, they do that. And then the third track is like kind of the public policy aspect of economics, where you kind of focus on public policy, macroeconomics, like if you want to work for the Fed or, work for any like economic consulting firm, like the Analysis Group or Cornerstone. So I would say CMC specializes in those three tracks. And I think in terms of popularity, the finance one is probably the most popular.
Absolutely. So what are the courses typically upperclassmen are expected to take, and you finish that in 3 years? So other than just the gen ed requirements, intro, macro, intro, minor,
So so the gen ed requirements, like you said, is principles of economics, intermediate micro, intermediate macro, intro accounting, econometrics. So I think those five everyone needs to take to be an econ major. And then the ones that I did to specialize in finance, where I took corporate finance, I took mergers and acquisitions, I took investments, I took derivatives, and I took financial statement analysis.
So Claremont is also very well known for its finance research. There are professors who are doing fairly good work there. What are the opportunities that students, or if you had any, other than the Finance Investment Club?
Yeah, so we actually have something called the FEI, which is our Finance and Economics Research Institute. And they hire students to be, research assistants to professors and help them with their research. So I actually applied for a scholarship called the Bill and Melinda Gates Investments Fellowship. And basically you have to pitch a stock to Bill and Melinda Gates Investments, which is run by a CMC alum. He's the CEO. You pitch a stock to him. You send him a couple of essays on why you like investing and obviously why that stock, and then also give them your resume and transcript. And they pick I think 4 students every year, and these 4 students get a $15,000 merit scholarship as well as a $5,000 research grant. So as a part of the $5,000 research grant, I was automatically hired by the FEI. And I did research with Professor Angela Vossmeyer, she's a professor at CMC, regarding the Great Depression and factors, banking factors that helped cause it.
Interesting. So you're talking about that professor's work, and now we're living in a world which is facing a pandemic, and we don't know what it's called, probably the Great Lockdown or something. Yeah. So yeah, just switching gears, since what do you think where the world is in terms of financial health?
I mean, right now there's a lot of talk about the disparity that's emerging between the actual economic health and the stock market. Like the stock market is almost at its all-time high. Maybe like the S&P, I think, is like 100 points shy from it, which is crazy given that unemployment is almost at its all-time high. And consumer spending is almost at its all-time low. So like these factors that traditionally would reflect a very poor stock market are not really doing so. So people are confused as to why this is the case. So that's interesting. And then on top of that, what's been really interesting is like the power you're seeing with these reserve banks, such as like the Federal Reserve, which are just injecting so much money into the American economy and just not letting it fail. So I think this is definitely interesting. And I guess
we'll see. Actually, it'll all pan out in a few months or years. And we'll probably have a better conversation about what this is called. It's got a Great Depression or something else. Fine. Talking more about operations research at Columbia and also moving to Columbia. It's a very different environment, and you've been at a sheltered, beautiful campus, and now you're in New York. What was it like academically for you to adapt and also adapt socially to the new setting?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a couple of ups and downs. So one up was that I came into Columbia a lot older and a lot more confident in myself. So I started Columbia as a junior and I was 21 at the time. So I think that really helped in terms of like settling into the city and just like knowing what I wanted and stuff like that. In terms of kind of getting into the social scene at Columbia, coming in as a transfer, especially junior year, you establish all your friends back at CMC. I think that was definitely difficult, but I got lucky in the sense that because I'm an international student and I had friends both from India as well as Singapore, so I had a good base in New York and a good base at Columbia. So I think that really helped me in terms of settling in. Academically, I think for me was also, I don't want to say a challenge, but because I've been focused so much on economics, like shifting gears to engineering was definitely difficult. It wasn't easy, but again, I think I managed. So for example, going back to the activities portion of Columbia, I got into the Columbia debate team as well as a business fraternity there called AKSI. And unlike at CMC, I think in Columbia it's common to not be involved in more than two things because it's just such a big place. While at CMC, everyone's doing like 6, 7 things. So those two things kept me occupied and helped me make a good base of friends. And then academically, like yes, engineering was obviously a different beast than economics, but I think that through the prerequisites I'd taken at CMC, I was prepared to deal with it, and also just being older, I think allowed me to deal with it a lot better.